Have you ever wondered why the most important things in the world happen when you are absent? Why the world is born in silence, yet you arrive in it only when it is already filled with noise and haste? We all complain about a hard fate, about poverty, about a lack of opportunities. But the truth is that most of us simply sleep through the moment when life distributes its true treasures. And I am not talking about money. I am talking about that clarity from which everything else is born. In a distant province lived a man named Aram. He was so poor that his only possessions were an old hoe and a leaky roof over his head. Aram worked from dawn until dusk, breaking his back in the fields, but luck seemed to pass his house by. His life was as gray as the dust on the road, and every day was like the one before, heavy, meaningless, and hopeless. Aram blamed the gods, the rulers, and his neighbors for everything. He believed that the sun of his luck simply hadn't risen yet. One day, when his despair became unbearable, Aram went to a sage who lived on the edge of the forest. The sage never seemed to work, yet his eyes shone with a peace that Aram had never seen, even in kings. "Master," the poor man pleaded, "why is heaven so unjust to me? I toil harder than anyone, yet I remain a beggar. Where is my wealth hidden?" The sage looked at him and laughed softly. "Your wealth is not hidden, Aram. You are simply late for your meeting with it. Every morning, life opens a door through which destiny enters. But at that time, you are in a deep faint, which you call sleep." The sage gave him strange advice. "Starting tomorrow, do not go to the field at dawn. Go to the river an hour before the first bird makes a sound. And do not take your hoe. Take only your presence. Just sit and look to the east. Do this for 7 days." Aram was disappointed. He expected a secret spell or directions to a buried treasure, but he decided to try. On the first morning, it was cold and dark. Aram sat by the water, shivering from the dampness, and cursed everything. He thought, "What foolishness! I am wasting time I could have spent in bed." He returned home, angry. On the second morning, he sat by the river again. The silence was so thick that he could hear his own heart. And suddenly he realized he had never heard his own heart before. It had always been drowned out by the voices of neighbors, the braying of donkeys, and his own complaints. By the fourth morning, Aram noticed something miraculous. The world around him began to change colors even before the sun appeared. The grayness turned to indigo, and indigo to a deep purple. He saw the dew on the grass sparkling like a scattering of diamonds that one does not need to buy. In that moment, a thought arose in his mind. If the world is so rich in color within the silence, perhaps my mind can be different too. On the seventh morning, Aram did not just sit by the river. He merged with that silence. At the very moment the first ray touched the water, something exploded in his consciousness. He didn't just see the sun, he saw clarity. He realized that his poverty was not in his wallet, but in his heavy, sleepy mind. He realized that all these years he had been entering the day already tired, already burdened by yesterday's grudges. Aram returned to the village a different man. He didn't find a bag of gold, but he found something greater: energy. Now he began his work when others were just stretching. But the secret wasn't in the hours of work. His mind had become as sharp as a razor. He began to see opportunities where others saw walls. He became calm, and people were drawn to his stillness. Within a year, he became the most successful man in the region. Listen, waking up early is not a discipline, and it is not a torture for the body. It is an act of the greatest mercy toward yourself. When you wake up with the world, when you capture that hour of pre-dawn silence, you step out of the collective trance of humanity. Most people live in a dream. They wake up in a hurry, eat breakfast in anxiety, and run to work in fear. They enter the flow of the day like driftwood carried by the current. But he who rises before the noise becomes the current itself. In that pre-dawn hour, the ego is still asleep. Your problems haven't had time to put on their masks yet. You are pure, and in that purity, you can hear the voice of your true being. This is the time when the universe whispers ideas to you that will never come at noon. You think you lack time. No, you lack space. And that space exists only in the silence of the early morning. The moral of this story is simple yet profound. You cannot change your destiny while remaining in the same state of consciousness that created it. To change your life, you must change its rhythm. Awakening the body is only the first step. The true miracle is the awakening of awareness. When you meet the sun, you greet the light within yourself. You declare to the world, "I am here. I am aware. I am not part of the crowd." Try it, not to achieve more, but to be more. Rise when the stars have not yet faded. Sit in silence. Do not plan. Do not think. Do not read. Simply become a witness to how the light is born. And you will see, along with that light, a new person will be born within you. A person who no longer needs to struggle for survival because they have realized that they are life itself, infinite and abundant. Your luck is not in the future. It is in this very moment that arrives at dawn. Do not sleep through your meeting with eternity. It waits for you every morning, silent and patient.